Hey everyone, this is Travis Rusko with Team Quest. You can check us out online at teamquest.org. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm here today with Jeremy Lee from parentministry.net. Jeremy, thanks for coming and joining us today.
Oh man, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I wanted to just take a moment here to kind of introduce you and your ministry. Could you just tell me about parentministry.net and the story behind it?
Absolutely. Parentministry.net was born out of I was a student minister for 19 years, and in that process, I recognized I was trained early on that student ministry was three things. It had thirds: one third students, one third volunteers, and one third parents. So I kind of lived that way. I thought I lived that way. I think what happened was I got into it because I really wanted to make a difference in the lives of teenagers, and I needed volunteers to help do that. And I would say that parents, especially early in my ministry, I didn't know what to do. I was scared to death of the idea of parents. And but about 4 or 5 years ago, I really, being a parent myself, really began to start to recognize that, this is an opportunity. It's an unexplored frontier in the world of youth ministry, and I thought to myself, I want to be a part of this. I had heard for about a decade that youth ministries were meant to serve not just the teenager but their whole family. I heard everybody talking about how we should do that, but I was trying to figure out how to do that. I knew I should, but I didn't know how. So I was talking to one of my volunteers, one of those core volunteers, that just a really cool guy, and I was just saying, how do we do this? How do we really partner and help parents? And they said, and he said, well, what's the coolest thing you've ever seen? And I said, well, I mean, I just immediately thought back to a manhood ceremony that I'd been invited to. A dad of a senior in high school on his 18th birthday had invited some of the guys that meant a lot to him in his life. And I'm sure lots of folks have heard of these before, but I'll just never forget one of the moments. He told his son to kneel down on the ground, and he told his son, he said, you are turning 18, you're becoming a man, and there are many of my friends that are 30 and 40 years old who act like boys because no one ever told them that they're men. And he said, son, based on my authority as your dad that God's given to me, I tell you that you knelt down as a boy, but you rise as a man. And put that sword on that guy's shoulder. And I'm going to tell you, there was something really beautiful in that moment. There was an exchange that took place in that moment. And there was a blessing that happened in that time. And for me to witness that personally, I've said that to my friend. I said, well, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And just instantly, without even thinking, he goes, well, then let's do that. Let's do that. That makes perfect sense. I thought, well, you know what? Let's do that. So we got out the napkin, and we just right there just thought through what was a strategic rite of passage or shared experience that a parent can have with their teenager each year, each grade year. And we realized we just did it, 6th through 12th grade, right there on the napkin. And that's really the same format we use today. And so for 4 years, I put that in place in my church. And then it was pretty clear that I needed to be able to take that past just my church. So.
Wow. So it's something, as you mentioned, that every youth pastor seems to understand that they need this, but they're just having trouble implementing it, making it happen.
Well, I know the youth pastors I talk to say that to me. When I talk to, when I'm at a conference or when I'm talking to people about parentministry.net, I start by saying, what do you do to minister to and encourage the parents that you serve? And I've had the reaction all the way from people tearing up saying, I have no idea, but I've been wanting to find out, to, just laughing and going, we do nothing, but we'd like to do something. So I think there's just a ton of people who recognize the urgency of it. We've done a fabulous job in Youth Ministry Nation expressing that there's a need for this. And that's why I believe what has happened is we've discovered an uncharted frontier. I really believe this, that there is a whole new world of youth ministry that is yet to be discovered that we're about to get to enjoy and explore over these next few decades.
Hmm. So as you just mentioned, over these next few decades, if you were to, I don't know, take a minute or two to explain your vision, um, and you look at this ministry 5 years from now or 10 years from now, what do you want to ultimately see coming from this, um, happening for youth pastors and for parents?
Well, what's exciting, if I'm a youth minister and I get hold of this content in 5 years from now, what I'm hoping will happen is, because typically what happens is when a youth minister introduces this material, the parents of the younger students are more excited.
Mhm.
If I've got an 11th grader, I'm like towards the end of the journey, so it's kind of hard to get me excited about doing some kind of new thing. But if I'm the parent of a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader, I'm looking at this going, oh yeah, I've got all this in front of me, and this is a strategic way to pass down faith. I can see how this over the years would make a difference. And so I think the if in 5 years, when you start with those younger kids and their parents, they get 5 years to track down with these experiences. They begin to see how it can stack onto each other and have that momentum that builds, and then they're able to share stories. And I think in 5 years in a church, what it does, it creates a positive atmosphere with positive peer pressure and a culture that's based not just around events, but based around these symbols and ceremonies that pass down faith. But for me, from a broader scope, we already have over 100 subscribers in 6 months. I really hope, I'd love that to turn into thousands, and my prayer is that what happens is we equip youth ministers to take my piddly little stuff that they have and go even further. I mean, that's one of the things I love about this is I created it open source. So what that means is, as long as the youth ministers don't share it on public social media and they keep it on their websites and in their email list, they can do with it whatever they want. They can take my name off of it and put theirs. I even give them the scripts where they can record their own videos,
Yeah.
because I know they're not going to want to always see my face.
So as this ministry is growing, what kind of testimonies are you seeing? Are there certain ones, certain stories, emails, reactions that you've gotten from people that have gone through your program that have just really stuck out to you?
Oh yeah, man. Just yesterday, I got an email from a youth minister who said, we had our first blessing ceremony, and it's just, and what's fun is when I hear from some of the parents as well, and some of the parents admit to me, they say, it was a little awkward, it was a little weird at first, but then once we got into it, it made all the difference. But I think my most favorite story was from a family who they don't even share our faith. They wouldn't call themselves Christians, but they got word of this whole blessing idea, and they took the blessing worksheet that we have as part of the 12th grade material, and they filled out a blessing, and they just got in front of their family and they just read it. They just said, "Hey, we love you, and this is what we believe about you." And they said, we believe God's made you to be this, and then they gave a symbol, just like they just followed the script that we gave them.
Yep.
But what happened was the whole family, the girl, and what nobody anticipated was the rush of significance and emotion that would come into that moment. And it meant so much to me to hear that even someone who doesn't even share our faith was able to have that kind of connection with their teenager. I think what happens for me is when a youth minister is able to say to a group of parents, hey, and they walk through each one of those 7 rites of passage, and then they say to the parents, they say, how many of you got all 7 of these experiences and conversations from your parents when you were a teenager in a healthy way? And 0 of the parents raise their hands. And then they say, well, what that means is, if you were able to just do these 7 things at each one time a year for 7 years, if you were able to give this to your teenager in a healthy way, you're going to set them up in a better way than any of us in this room were able to have. They would be able to set up for a healthier life. Man, once that youth minister says that, the room is in. Everybody's in. They're like, yes, let's do this. It's easy to motivate them at that point. So.
Absolutely. So if a youth pastor does want to get involved, if they want to learn more about this ministry, if they're interested in what you guys are doing, how can they do that?
Oh man, there's a couple of different ways. They can contact us. They can contact me, Jeremy, Jeremy, at parentministry.net, and we can set them up with we have some parentministry.net specialists who do online tours that look just like this, except they'll get online with a youth minister and show them the whole website and show them some examples of some of our subscribers and kind of just help tailor it to them, help a youth minister understand how this can fit into their context. So I would say that's a great first step for a lot of youth ministers. And plus, we have you can just go right on and subscribe. That's available, and once they subscribe, they get a huge amount of content right away. And then we send them new content every month. So it's an annual subscription, so they're able to get new stuff every month to give away to their parents.
Sounds awesome. I wanted to thank you for coming on and talking with us for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage anybody that's watching, parentministry.net, go take a look at it, see what they have to offer. It's an amazing ministry that they have going on there. And so thank you, Jeremy, for taking a few minutes with us today. And God bless you and everything you're doing in your ministry.
Oh, same to you guys, and thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.